Hi, my name is Alex, and I did some prior videos on the stock Insight engine and recently had the opportunity to get this particular Hindsight engine from Flawless Airworks. I'm about 60% complete with the testing for this engine, but I ran into some problems and I wanted to make a quick PSA to help others before they lose a weekend of play to issues that come with this engine or could come with this engine. This is a too long didn't read section for those of us who are really busy and are just trying to get up and running. A couple of points though. I have no relationship with Blast Legacy. I did not get this engine from them. I bought this engine secondhand. Two, I have nothing to sell you. This is purely out of the kindness of my heart. First thing you should do is fixate these threads with your favorite thread locker. It came undone for me. It's come undone for some other people. At least for my engine, they don't screw on that tight. Like it screws and then it just stops. There's no like friction set there. The number two action you should do if you are having shoot down issues, I had blow by on this particular O-ring here. It comes with a U-cup, but it's a narrow U-cup, and mine was setting in the closed uh, U-cups open and then they close, right? So switching to a standard 12 012 70 durometer O-ring. It gave me more friction, but for myself and for one other person, it basically solved the problem and eliminated the blow by that resulted in shoot down. So to recap this slide as a TLDR, Loctite your threads and put a regular O-ring in the rearmost seal instead of a U-cup. So we're going to slow down a little bit now that we are at um, this part of the presentation, kind of go through my thoughts, what kind of happened to me at each step of the way so we can kind of talk through this issue. First issue I had while I was playing is the gun went down, and you'll see more in the video.
So I'm here at the indoor field, and this came loose on me. The way it manifested was I had really bad bolt stick. It just and I took the bolt out, put it back in. It was working a little bit, but it was shooting down really, really bad. If I keep playing with this, I'm gonna have to Loctite it right here.
So, as I said in the video, if I want to keep playing with this, I'm going to have to Loctite it here. It actually went down 2 more times that night. So out of 800 shots or so, I lost 3 games, and I was aggravated for that, but still trying to help this platform succeed. So I took the whole platform home, was trying to replicate the issue, and the issue is kind of replicated in this video, but what gave me the clue that it wasn't fully replicated is it's very cold. Well, not very cold. It's 40, 39, 40 degrees in this video, and that makes O-rings harder and gets smaller, which actually I think made this particular seal on the back seal better. But let's watch the video.
Quick video to try to catch this issue on camera. Went down when playing indoor last Friday. 688 barrel running at approximately 150 psi, trying to shoot the 250 FPS field limit. This is for the Hindsight engine. Apologize the awkwardness, my hands. It's a little colder than I would like, but it's Minnesota in January.
March, not January, it's March.
So, a couple chrono shots here. 256, 255, 256, 234. So what happened when I was playing was it was shooting and then it went down pretty hard. Let's see if I can replicate that on this video. There, just went down. That might have been paint related.
So you see how I went from 260 to like 220 there, right? That's the bolt not firing forward as it should. That is air slipping by. So with that noted, let's go to the next
So when I was out there in the backyard, the camera stopped recording because I pressed the button when I shouldn't have pressed the button. But my thought process is there's an O-ring in there, right? Gonna zoom in. It's right, I'm trying to focus on it there. All right, I think that intermittently that O-ring not sealing correctly will make the marker not fire forward correctly because the air vents directly past that O-ring to the three little holes that
3 holes here and opposite 3 holes here. You can see the outer vents here.
it's hard to see them. You can see them in person, but there's three little vent holes right there. And what I'm going to try to do is a harder or bigger O-ring here to see if that intermittent loss of seal can be eliminated by putting a better O-ring there that seals more robustly more often through more temperature changes.
Okay, so I attempted again, got more paint, and what I'm going to do here is essentially I'm going to take that O-ring out and I'm going to see if the gun works or what happens to the gun when you take that O-ring out.
So to kind of test that thought, all right, will the gun air up with that O-ring removed? So I'm going to set this to the side for a moment and remove that back cap. Have the bolt all the way forward, the O-ring's right there. Now, if this leaks when I take this out, then it's probably not this O-ring that's causing that intermittent loss of seal. But if it seals up and it can still propel a paintball, sort of, it might explain a lot of what's happening. And, oh wow, that is a U-cup seal back there, okay? Now that just made things a whole hell of a lot harder to fix. But we'll see. Okay, so all I did was take out the U-cup in the back. So let's see if we get a massive leak when we air that up. No, it. Okay, so put some paint in this thing. Can we still launch a paintball despite that O-ring being gone? Now, I'm not saying like.
So what I didn't finish there was we don't expect the paintball to be fired at full speed, but if it's still attempting to cycle the bolt forward, that makes sense that that air is venting and it's mostly hitting the bolt tail but not sealing against the bolt tail. If you think about a G6R rammer back cap, right, you can have a bad O-ring there and it's not going to leak because it won't lose that seal until it tries to fire forward. The Insight has that. The G6R has that. It's kind of a common thing for Bob Long design markers. Apologize for pressing the stop recording button here, but this culminates in essentially the gun will function without that O-ring even being there. It just barely lobs paint though, because it doesn't create enough of a seal to make that initial charge force to send the bolt forward fast enough to fully dump the chamber.
So again, I just aired this up. It'll launch one paintball, maybe two, three, without that O-ring.
So again, I accidentally pressed the thing, but the gun works without that O-ring in there, but barely. Like it just barely, the air charge vents around and it doesn't move it very well. So if you're having problems on the field where it's working great and then all of a sudden the bolt's still kind of cycling, but you're just lobbing paint, I really think it's this rearmost sail O-ring. And I replaced that particular O-ring with just that standard 012 70 durometer. Apologize for the dirty ass garage, but here's the results from that.
Hindsight Engine 684 barrel with the standard 12 O-ring on the rearmost tail, 12 dwell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
So again, you didn't see any shots in the teens, you didn't see any 220s, you didn't see any 230s. Everything was pretty consistent because that standard O-ring is putting a lot more friction back there. It will still flick, but it's always sealing because it's bigger and it's not trying to cheat being a U-cup. It's just an O-ring and it's just sealing. So to conclude this, right, this advice is worth as much as you paid for it, right? You don't have to do any of it. But I'll complete the testing and try to put out the full review against the 6 or now 7 claims that Blast Legacy made for this product. And that's about 60% complete. I would have had more done sooner if it wouldn't have went down last Friday. This engine, it does bring some improvements. There are some things it definitely does better, namely the rigidity of the volume chamber and the fact that the bolt doesn't come backward and slam the volume chamber every time. But there's growing pains and there is us as a customer being the beta tester pains that we have to go through to make these products work well, I guess. That's the only explanation I can come up with. Last thing, if your hindsight engine's working great and you don't feel that you need to do this, then don't. That's fine. All right. Again, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I am not Blast Legacy, just an engineer trying to help out. So, uh, but for those of you who are having these issues, Loctite or fixate your volume chamber and try just a regular 012 O-ring in the back. Thanks.